everyone, my name is Richie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm really excited to be sharing with you another video all about series. So in today's video I will be listing for you my unfinished series. This is basically a list of all of the books that are in a series that I've started but have not yet finished. So I won't be going into great detail about these series. I will basically just be telling you what the series is, who wrote it, and how many books I've read in the series. Before we get into that, just know that this is a group of videos I'm filming and releasing within the next few weeks. So if you're interested in checking out also the series I quit, my favorite series, and the series I have completed, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're notified when all of those videos go up. You should also comment down below and let me know which of these books need to be a priority on my list to complete. And finally, before we get into this video, I just wanted to kind of give you a breakdown of the kinds of series that could be on this list. A book could be on this list for 3 different reasons, essentially. It could be that I started the series and have decided not to complete it. It could be that I started the series and just haven't continued on yet, but do plan on finishing. Or it could be that I've read all of the series that is out and have not had the ability to finish because more books haven't been published yet. So on this list we have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I've read the first book in the series. The second one hasn't been released yet, but I do have an arc of it and I will be reading that very soon. Next up we have The Winner's Trilogy by Marie Rutowski. I've actually only read the first book in the series. And then we have the Archie graphic novel series as well as the March graphic novel series, and I've read the first issue of both of these. We have the Maybe Someday series and the Slammed series, both by Colleen Hoover, and I've only read the first book in both of these series. The Paper Girls graphic novel series, I believe I've only read the first trade paperback of this series as well. The Graceling Realm series by Kristen Cashore. This is a 3-book series. I've read the first 2, but have not yet read the 3rd one. The Creekwood series. I've read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, but have not yet read Leah on the Offbeat. I know. The Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I have only read the first book in this series. The Passenger's Duology by Alexandra Bracken. I've only read the first book in this series. The Throne of Glass series and the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I've read the first 2 books plus the bind-up collection of novellas for the Throne of Glass series, and I read the first 2 books in the Thorns and Roses series. I have the Selection series on this list. In my completed series video, I did say that I have read the Selection trilogy, which is true, and many people consider that to be a completed series, but this series has also continued on, and it has more books in the series, I believe 2 more, and I have not read either of those. The Wrath and the Dawn duology by Renee Ahdieh, and I have read the first book in this series. We also have Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is by Carrie Maniscalco, and I've read the first 2 books in this series. The Call by Paul O'Grodin, and I've read the first book in this series. Every Day by David Levithan, I've read the first book in this series. Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi, I read the original trilogy, but I have not read the new book, Restore Me. The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles, I've only read the first book in this series. We also have The 100 by Cass Morgan, and I have also only read the first book in this series. The Matched Trilogy by Ali Condi, I have read the first book, DNF'd the second book. The Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series by Ransom Riggs, I've only read the first book in this series. The Gemma Doyle Trilogy by Libba Bray, and I again have only read the first book in this series. You by Carolyn Kepnes, again have only read the first book in this series. The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, have only read the first book in this series. Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, I've only read the first book in this series. We also have Pretty Little Liars by Sarah Shepard. I think I read 8 books in this series. I read them years and years ago before I was really tracking books on Goodreads, so I don't know how many I read, but I think it was around 8. Vengeance Road by Ehrman Bowman, I only read the first book in this series. The Giver by Lewis Lowry, and I again have only read the first book in this quartet. We have the Miss Marvel graphic novel series. I've read the first 3 trade paperback issues of this graphic novel series. The Lock and Key graphic novel series, which actually pains me to say because it's like one of my favorite graphic novel series, but they recently put out a side story, I would call it maybe, and I'm really excited to read that. I actually have it checked out of my library, but I haven't read it yet, so I have technically not completed the series. but that's a recent development because that came out recently. The Thousandth Floor series by Catherine McGee. I have only read the first book in this series. The Conspiracy of Us trilogy by Maggie Hall. I've read the first 2 books in this series, but need to just read that last one. I have the Rat Queens graphic novel series, and I've only read the first trade paperback of this. And I Darken series by Kirsten White. I've only read the first book in this series. The Time Quintet by Madeleine L'Engle, and I have only read the first book in this series. Famous Files by Sylvia Neuville, and I've read the first 2 books in this trilogy. Just need to read that third one. The Arc of a Scythe series by Neil Shusterman, and I've read the 2 books that are published in this series, but it has more books to come. This Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I've read, I can't remember, I think the first 2 books in this trilogy, but it might just be the first one. I can't remember. The Lumine Files by Che Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and I have only read the first book in this series. I have also the Starbound series by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, and I have only read the first book in this series. The Villain series by V.E. Schwab, which is Vicious and its sequel, but that sequel has not yet come out. The Runaways graphic novel series. The Rebel Belle trilogy by Rachel Hawkins, and I've only read the first book in this series. There's also Every Hearted Doorway series by Shauna McGuire. I've read the first 2 books in this series. Forget Tomorrow trilogy by Pintip Dunn. I've read the first book in this series. Read all of the books that are published for the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. That's not true. The third one has already been released, so never mind. And the Replica series by Lauren Oliver, and I've only read the first book in this series. The Wire and Nerves graphic novel series, which is a spin-off of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and I've only read the first in this graphic novel duology. The Maze Runner by James Dashner. I've read the original trilogy of this, and I've also read one of the prequels, but there is another prequel which I have not read. Lumberjanes graphic novel series, which I've read the first trade paperback of. The Guide series, which is the Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue and its sequel, but that sequel has not yet been published, and these are by Mackenzie Lee. The Diviners by Libba Bray, which again, the series is not yet completed, so I couldn't have the opportunity to finish it yet. The Dark Artifices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. This is another instance where the book series has not yet completed publication. Bandette graphic novel series. This is by Paul Tobin and Colleen Coover, and this graphic novel series just hasn't completed publication. They're still writing these comics and releasing them, so I will continue to read them as they are published. The Bone Season series, which has not finished publication. I read the 3 books that are out, but it won't finish publishing for many years. Saga graphic novel series. I've read the first 8 volumes that are out, but that is still publishing as well. The Women Are Some Kind of Magic poetry collection series, which is by Amanda Lovelace. I've read the first 2 poetry collections in this series, but the third one has not yet been published. And we finally have An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir, another instance where I've read all the books that are out, but the third one has not yet been published, but it will be this summer. So that's all for the series I have not yet completed. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you should give it a thumbs up, and you should also comment down below and let me know which of these series should be a priority for me, or which of these series are your favorites. So let me know which one I should finish next if I have the ability to continue reading it, and just let me know what your favorites are that's on this list as well. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!